A filing by special counsel Jack Smith reveals damning new evidence about Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Trump's lies about 2020 have badly hurt Republicans in election after election. So now they're trying out a new lie. Actually, Donald Trump left office peacefully.
On January the 20th, what happened? Joe Biden became the president. Donald Trump left the White House. It's really rich for Democratic leaders to say that Donald Trump is a unique threat to democracy when he peacefully gave over power on January the 20th, as we have done for 250 years in this country.
Okay, but what else happened in January? Does your calendar skip the 6th of every month? That's what you get for buying those cheap Trump calendars. To save money, there's only 5 days a week, 3 weeks a month, and instead of cute puppies, they're terrified dogs saying, "Don't let them eat me." Trump only left office peacefully on January 20th because he tried to stay in office violently on January 6th, and it didn't work out. You don't get credit for peacefully leaving a convenience store after you try and fail to rob it. Give me all your money. Hey, is that a comb in your pocket? All right, fine, you got me, it's a comb. I'm leaving peacefully, might I add. But before I go, can I get a change for a 20? And this is not the first time Republicans have trotted out this particular lie.
Have you spoken to him about basically not doing anything like that again and committing to respecting the sort of American tradition of a peaceful transfer?
Of course he respects that, and we all do.
Donald Trump was the president for 4 years. He didn't do any of the things that they're claiming. He left office.
Everybody knows Trump's going to leave office just like he did the last time.
You're leaving out the biggest part. I feel like an English teacher watching a student do an oral report on The Great Gatsby. It's about a wealthy man who throws awesome parties in the Hamptons. And what does the green light symbolize? The green light means go, go party more. Nothing bad ever happens if you just keep the party going. All right, let's switch to Catch-22. Yeah, that's about a guy who has to catch, 22 Pokemon. And not only are Republicans lying about what happened on January 6th, they're also claiming that no one cares.
The media is obsessed with talking about the election of 4 years ago. I'm focused on the election of 33 days from now.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future.
Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election? Can you answer that?
Jim, I think it's very simple. The American people have passed the 2020 election. They're focused on an election which is just under 5 weeks away.
It's just a simple question. Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election? I mean, that's an easy...
Jim, why are we talking about 2020 anymore? Does the American people care about the 2020 election anymore, or do they care about being able to put food on their table, gas in their car?
We're talking about an election that's going to take place in 35 days. What are you doing talking about something that's 4 years ago?
Oh, I can help you with this. People are still talking about it because it was a crime. And 4 years is not very long when it comes to crimes. The #1 show on Netflix right now is about the Menendez brothers, and that was over 30 years ago. But Fox News wants to act like the coup attempt is ancient history. In fact, here's how they showed the footage just yesterday. Now I'm on to you, Fox News. Also, people can focus on more than one thing at a time. For example, right now I'm reading the cue cards and trying to figure out why Corey Lewandowski here reminds me of a penis with googly eyes. In fact, I'm now also imagining what a penis with googly eyes would look like. And on top of that, I'm also mentally clearing my calendar next week to make room for a meeting I have with HR because I asked our graphics department to Photoshop a picture of penis with googly eyes. I'm also thinking back on how there was probably a better way to ask that question than to send an email with the subject line, penis with googly eyes. And actually, when I think it's not even fair. He looks like a shark that got hit with a frying pan. That was on me. I own that. But I do feel like a day from now, maybe longer, you're gonna go, oh yeah. Yeah, he does look like a shark. Also, Donald Trump is the one who keeps talking about it.
The only way they can do anything is if they cheat like hell, and we've been victims of that. We don't need the votes. We just want to make sure that they don't cheat. Our primary focus is not to get out the vote. It's to make sure they don't cheat, because we have all the votes you need. If I lose, I'll tell you what's possible, because they cheat. That's the only way we're going to lose, because they cheat. They cheat like hell. If they don't cheat, we win this state easily, okay? They cheat. They have no shame. They cheat. They cheat. They cheated in the last election, and they're going to cheat in this election, but we're going to get them. If I ran with an honest vote counter in California, I would win California, but the votes are not counted honestly. If Jesus came down and was the vote counter, I would win California, okay?
If Jesus came down to earth, you'd make him count votes? May I remind you, he's the Son of God. He can cure disease and walk on water. You want him doing clerical work in the Sacramento County Registrar's office. Hey, Jesus, hate to do this, but you counted the vote for Biden and the bubble wasn't completely filled in. Gonna need you to go back and start counting again. Oh man, why did I come back down here? It literally never goes my way. So Republicans are trying to rewrite history, which is why a new filing from Special Counsel Jack Smith in the election subversion case is so damning. It reminds everyone of what Trump and his allies tried to do and how brazen they were about it.
A bombshell court filing just unsealed in the 2020 election case against former President Donald Trump. In it, Special Counsel Jack Smith argues that Trump resorted to crimes after losing the election to Joe Biden. The filing, which runs 165 pages and has a lot of names redacted, also details Trump's actions on January 6th when thousands of his supporters stormed the Capitol as Congress was certifying the election.
Upon receiving a phone call alerting him that Pence had been taken to a secure location, this aide rushed to the dining room to inform the defendant, Donald Trump, in hopes that the defendant would take action to ensure Pence's safety. Instead, after this aide delivered the news, the defendant looked at him and said only, "So what?"
The evidence includes first-hand witness interviews, like when one lawyer told Trump his claims wouldn't hold up in court. And Trump allegedly responded, quote, "The details don't matter."
There's also this new detail. Smith cites an assistant who heard Trump tell family members on Marine One, no less, after the election, quote, "It doesn't matter if you won or lost the election, you still have to fight like hell."
When he saw the filing, even Jesus was like, Jesus. This is the most damning thing. In private, Trump knew he lost, despite what he was telling his supporters in public. For all we know, he was behind the scenes poring over county-level election data, saying, "These numbers are very interesting. We underperform with uneducated suburban women between the ages of 18 to 54, but overperform with aggressive middle-aged white men who look like penises with googly eyes." Or, like a lot of people are saying, a shark that... Jack Smith's filing lays out damning new evidence of a brazen plot to overthrow American democracy by people who knew what they were doing. Donald Trump was informed repeatedly by the people closest to him that the conspiracy theories about election fraud were baseless and insane.
The unsealed brief says Trump tried to get RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel to promote the claim that Dominion rigged the vote in Michigan.
He told Ronna Romney McDaniel to publicize a report. She said back to him, the report was effing nuts.
The chair of the Republican National Committee told Trump his fraud claims were nuts. But hey, maybe she meant in a good way. You know, like a movie reviewer walking out of Megalopolis. This movie is nuts. In a good way? I gotta be honest, I don't know. In fact, there's evidence that Trump was aware these conspiracy theories were insane. For example, you might remember one of his most unhinged lawyers, Sidney Powell, who claimed in a press conference that there was some elaborate international conspiracy to steal the election involving Dominion, communists, and the dead Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez. Well, according to the filing, during a call with Powell, Trump placed the call on mute, called her claims crazy, and made a reference to the science fiction series Star Trek when describing her allegations. Now, here's my biggest question. What was the Star Trek reference? Was it original series or Next Generation? Hell, if it was DS9, I might vote for him. Ooh. Is it the famous episode where Picard tries to communicate with the aliens who only speak in allegories? That lady is harder to follow than Darmok and Jalad and Tanagra. It looks like her face got in the way when the walls fell. And you guys, if you don't get that joke, you're missing out on a classic. Sure, you all love Patrick Stewart from the X-Men movies, but to me, he will always be Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise. And you know why I love Star Trek? Because
I'm focused on the future.
So, Trump knew the conspiracy theories were crazy, but that did not stop him from sicking his minions on election officials to get them to overturn the results, like Rudy Giuliani, who tried to send the following message to a co-conspirator. I need you to pass a joint resolution from the Michigan legislature that states that the election is in dispute. There's an ongoing investigation by the legislature, and the electors sent by Governor Whitmer are not the official electors of the state of Michigan and do not fall within the safe harbor deadline of December 8th under Michigan law. Just one problem, the message failed because he typed the wrong number into his phone. That would explain the text Rudy got back, do you want pepperoni on that? In case you don't remember, Rudy also left a voicemail for the wrong senator on January 6th, trying to get them to overturn the results, and he butt-dialed an NBC reporter discussing his need for cash and his attempt to dig up dirt on the Bidens. As a favor to Rudy, stop giving this man your phone number. The only two numbers he should have in his phone are his doctor and a liquor store that delivers. Rudy is the first criminal in history who's managed to rat on himself. The FBI doesn't need to bug him or monitor his calls. They just have to sit around and wait until he accidentally sits on his phone and calls them. Trump's team also knew the potentially violent consequences of what they were doing.
Smith explains how a campaign employee who was at a ballot counting location in Detroit, Michigan, ordered a colleague to, quote, give me options to file litigation, even if it's BS. The colleague then suggested that there was about to be unrest, reminiscent of the Brooks Brothers riot, a violent effort to stop the vote count in Florida after the 2000 presidential election. A Trump campaign staffer responded, make them riot. Do it.
Why do all these idiots write their crimes down in text messages? I can't believe I'm saying this. Donald Trump, you need better accomplices. They actually wrote down the words, make them riot, like they were Ticketmaster execs putting Sabrina Carpenter tickets up for sale. The site can't handle this much demand. People are gonna be pissed. Make them riot. Okay, but that's that me espresso. What? From the song. What does that mean? She's espresso and that's her. I don't know what you're saying. Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. When the walls fell? Trump committed a crime and he's trying to do it again. That's why we're still talking about the 2020 election. And now we have ample evidence that he and his allies knew what they were doing. Well, I mean, except for Rudy, who is just
effing nuts.
This has been a closer look.